She doesn't even go here.
I'm bi, actually.
Excuse me. Could the ugly, untalented gays please report to the principal's office?
Hi, I'm Kurt Homo, and I'll be auditioning for the role of kicker.
Hello! Welcome, come on in. Welcome to Not So Straight Nerds, or today, Not So Straight Materialists.
Oh my god.
What? That's crazy. In the summer, I turned pretty. Anyways, that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about the summer I turned pretty, which is hopefully not going to be as long of a conversation. I don't think either one of us wants to talk about that a whole bunch. More so, we're talking about Materialists today.
Which came out
So
this weekend.
yeah, we're very excited. We saw it yesterday. So, I'm excited for the discussion because I think a lot of people have a lot of thoughts on it, especially with the advertising.
Yes.
What we thought we were watching, and then what we found out like 3 hours before watching it, what it actually was about. So, it's been a ride, but I feel like we both came out of it feeling pretty good. And, yeah, so we'll leave down in the description when we start talking about each thing. We're going to start talking about the summer I turned pretty because we want to get that out of the way first.
Absolutely.
Anyways, so
But before
yeah.
that, I guess, vibe check. How are you feeling about these conversations?
I actually am excited to finally just kind of talk about it and get it out of the way. Like, the third and final season, luckily, is coming out in about a month, actually. A month and a day. July 16th. So, that's that. It's coming out.
Indeed.
So, yeah. And then I'm excited to talk about Materialists. I think we have some fun things to talk about, so
For
yeah,
sure.
I don't know. I'm actually not feeling all that bad. So sometimes it's nice to rant,
Yeah.
So anyways, what about you?
I'm very excited to talk about Materialists,
Yeah.
and I'm very excited to be done watching The Summer I Turned Pretty.
Fair.
So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. And that's all there is to it. Also, I feel like since we're talking about two things, we're probably not going to do like a non-spoilers thing.
Sure.
If that's okay with you.
Yeah.
We're just going to get right into it. So, yeah. But again, if you want to listen to one and not the other, we're going to start talking about The Summer I Turned Pretty, and then you can see in the description when we start talking about Materialists. So, there you go.
Material girl.
Material Girl.
Alrighty.
Anyways.
Are you ready to hop straight into it?
I guess.
Okay, so Summer I Turned Pretty, seasons 1 and 2.
So, I want to ask how you felt going into this show. Because I went into the show because I had read the books.
Right.
You hadn't. So I don't know what your thoughts were, if you had any.
So I had heard of this show. I had never seen anything for this show.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I was going, I used to listen to the radio in my car, randomly, and I would hear about this was one of the shows that would be talked about.
Yeah.
And I remember it showing up on Nielsen lists when it was coming
Yeah.
out.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's pretty popular.
I was aware of it, and then I
Mhm.
also knew it's where, what is his name? Conrad's actor.
Oh, Chris Briney, I think his name is.
Yeah,
Something
he
like that. He was
I
in
knew
Mean
it was where
Girls.
he came in before Mean Girls.
Yeah.
So I knew that's where a lot of people knew him from.
Yeah.
And that was essentially it.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a whole lot of character jump from what the stuff I watch and The Summer I Turned Pretty. So
Yeah.
I really had no idea what to expect or knew what I would and wouldn't enjoy before I got into it.
Mm-hmm.
And come to find out, I would never watch this on my own.
Aren't you just so happy that I made you watch this?
I that first season was rough.
Yeah. It's shocking because I think, even as someone who doesn't really like Jeremiah, I still think the second season is definitely better. But a lot of people, just because they don't like Jeremiah, I'm guessing, they really don't like, and they don't like Sky, and I don't know. They let a lot of things really ruin the entire season for them, and I just think that's interesting because I see them as a whole. No, the second season's definitely better.
Yeah,
In my opinion. So,
I agree. The first one is just so rough. I guess you're either there for it or you're not.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. There's a lot of problems, which we'll get into the specifics.
Yeah.
But
I will say, I feel like Belly is a little less insufferable in the first season, wouldn't you say? Because she doesn't... Because in the second season, there's a lot... And since we're in spoiler territory, I'll just, mention it. Because the second season, she has the whole thing where she, tells everybody that Conrad broke up with her, even though, that's literally not even close to what happened. She, makes their mom's funeral about her.
She does worse stuff in season 2, but I will say, I don't think insufferable is even necessarily an action. I think it's like a personality.
Yeah.
And that is just Belly's personality. That anytime she says a line, I'm going to be prepared to want to die.
Mm-hmm. How would you feel, what do you think about the actress?
I think, unfortunately, I've never read the book, and it's, unwaveringly, she's sweet, clearly. She cares about the people in her life. Mm-hmm. And I love her dynamic with her brother and her mother and Suzanne.
Yeah.
I love those. Susanna, sorry. But I think it's very accurate of a teenage girl the moment she gets upset at anyone. And I think she portrays that really well. I think I would love to see her in something else so I can really judge how I feel about her as an actress. I feel like this is just unfair.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I truly feel like her writing specifically, at least in the relationship aspect, is really rough.
Yeah. Well, it was also a very interesting experience watching this and Twilight pretty much at the same time.
Yes, I would
because
say
then you had Bella and Belly, and a love triangle. So very wild.
I fear they're very similar in the fact. Do you think that she's portrayed as she is in the books?
I think so.
Okay, because I had a feeling it was a
And
Bella situation.
It's been a while since I've read the books, I will say. I don't know. It's hard because I also have heard... So she Lola Tong, the actress, I think that's how you say her name, she narrated the audiobook, a version of the audiobook. And so I think her and Chris definitely did. I don't know if Gavin, whatever his last name is for Jeremiah, I don't know if he did. But I know the first two did. I think they did all 3 books. So it's hard to differentiate them because when I think about the book, I hear her voice still.
Okay.
So I don't know. But I was kind of wondering if I wanted to reread the 3rd book before the 3rd season because it's not a very long book. And it's crazy the amount of times I was watching this show where I went, oh, that's not in the book. That's not in the book. That's not in the book. It's a lot. A lot of things are not in the book. So I don't know. The books are very bland. And they're from Belly's point of view. And so it's
To be fair, I think the most bland part of this show is when it focuses on Belly, the main character. I agree. And I really love a lot of the stuff that you say is not in the books. Yeah, so they're a time. So, anyways, I will say the books are definitely made for middle schoolers, and the show is more mature than that. It has curse words, it has mentions of sex, it has drugs and alcohol, it's definitely more of you're translating this for the people who grew up reading the books. Okay. So, that helps. At least you're not watching a middle school version of this happening, Yeah, that's what the books are. So that sounds rough. That sounds really rough.
That's why it's I think it helped that I read the books before watching the show because I have also seen by the same author the adaptation of To All the Boys I've Loved Before, which you should watch that. They're actually not bad.
A lot of people enjoy,
especially the first one. Yeah, the second, it's okay. Jordan Fisher's in the second one.
I like me some Jordan Fisher.
Yeah. I don't know. I actually do own at least the first book. I don't think I own the other two, but I do own the first book in that series. I haven't read it because I like that movie, and I'm like, I did not with The Summer I Turned Pretty. I liked the show better than I liked the book. Maybe that's why I was excited to watch it, because I remember liking the show more than the book, and I think I overestimated why I liked the show. It's more so I just like it in comparison to the book, not as its own thing. So rewatching was a bit of an experience for me. I don't know. It's like I don't want to read that book because what if I don't like it as much as the movie? That sucks. That almost never happens. That almost never crosses my mind, but it does in this case. So I don't know.
Yeah, watching, especially that first season, sometimes when I like talk about stuff, and like especially like and like how I rate things and shows and movies, sometimes I worry that like I like things too easily, and that like I can't like judge things super like objectively, for whatever reason. And then we started watching that show, and I was like, man, it feels really good to know that I'm capable of like hating a show. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know when the last time I've like sat through a show I didn't want to watch.
It's an experience. But at least now with the third season, you only have to watch basically one a week.
Yes.
I will say the second season, I think they released the first 3 the first day, so they might do stuff like that. I haven't heard anything about that. I know it's still, for the most part, going to be weekly, but I don't know if they're going to off the bat do the first 3 or whatever. I'm not sure. But other than that, even if they do, after that it'll be one a week, I think.
Okay.
As far as I've heard. So it won't be a binge.
Sure.
Like this one.
It's a rough binge. I'm so curious what it must have been like as a, like if that first season was a weekly, how I would have felt about it, but
I don't remember how I felt about because I don't remember if I watched the first one as a weekly or not. But I know I watched the second one as a weekly, and I do remember it more fondly.
The second one, but also I think the second one is just
better.
Like it's like almost objectively better, I think.
Yeah. It's like an actual TV show.
Yeah, it's like a thing where things happen, and it's not like, oh, I'm upset because of this, but no one else can know. And it's like, oh my gosh, is he upset? I don't know why. And it's that every episode.
Yeah. That's this show, basically. Anyways. Any more thoughts?
I want to get into the conversation of the ships.
Okay.
So, specifically the main ships. So there's Jellyfish.
Jellyfish. Okay. Bonrad. Horrible. Both Jellyfish are horrible ship names, by the way. Bonrad. No.
Maybe that's a sign, Belly, that these ain't for you.
If your ship names don't work out, find someone else who will. What would be her and Cam Cameron's?
Bam Bamron.
Okay, but that one was kind of funny, unlike the others. So you know what? It's got something going for it. No. I don't know. I love Cam Cameron.
I love Cam Cameron. I loved him so
really
much.
Great. Yeah.
The Cam Cameron dismissal. How dare you?
I wonder if he's going to be in the third book. Season, okay. Sorry. I don't know. I'm actually very interested. I hope he is, but I have no idea what role he would play.
I was unironically so excited to see him in the second season. And then, and then it was really funny. He just kind of tagged along into the season and was just like, yeah, I'm just going to leave my job. It's like, oh, okay. I guess I'm excited enough that I won't ask questions.
Yeah, no.
But that was really funny.
Well, so I'll just say what the third season like is from the trailer.
Okay.
So the third season is, well, the end of the second season, Belly ends up with Jeremiah.
Right.
And it's presumed that Conrad's going off to do his own thing, heartbroken, and Belly and Jeremiah, they're together at volleyball camp, and they're like a couple now, and I guess like you're supposed to think they're going to be together for a while. And they are. In the book, I think it's only about 2 years. Okay. In the show, apparently it's going to be 4 years, which is crazy. Because she's a junior in high school when we leave her, and she's going to be a junior in college in the 3rd season.
Dang.
A lot different. So, and I don't like that because the whole thing is, okay, I'm trying to dance around what's in the trailer and what I know about from the book. So, they're in college. They've gone to Finch together.
Yes.
And let's just say they wind up getting engaged. Not going to talk about how or why or whatever. They wind up engaged. And that's in the trailer, so no spoilers. Anyways. So, nobody in their life thinks that that's a good idea. That they should get married. They think they're too young. Which I think when she's like a freshman in college, that hits a lot harder. I think when she's a junior in college, it hits a little bit less.
A little less, but...
So, we'll see. Because also she's, she acts like a freshman in college in the book.
I think especially whenever... so many people were pushing her towards Jeremiah in the first place.
Yeah.
I think that does make things a little odd.
Also, I want to point out that someone pointed out something really interesting about why Steven would ship her and Conrad versus Taylor shipping her and Jeremiah. Mm-hmm. Steven has grown up around all of them his whole life, so he knows all of them. Mm-hmm. Taylor does not go to the summer house in the summer. She does not know the boys, like almost at all. Mm-hmm. So what she knows about the boys is from Belly. Yeah. She only knows what Belly thinks she knows and understands. So she only has Belly's perspective. So, of course, when you have the Belly that's running around telling everyone Conrad broke up with her at prom, of course she's going to be like, well, that guy sucks, because she doesn't know Conrad as a person and doesn't know or empathize with their situation.
And realize that Belly's definitely in the wrong here.
Yeah. And
the entire show didn't recognize that Belly was hardcore in the wrong there. And
yeah.
That's crazy to me.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy how she can say the words, we're breaking up. And then everyone in the entire show being like, yeah, I can't believe Conrad broke up with Belly. He actually literally said, like, Belly, don't do this. Like, he didn't want to break up. But he couldn't be there for her and knew that he was ruining her prom. And his mother was like, what is it, knocking on death's door or whatever?
Sure.
So he didn't really, like, care about a junior prom. Excuse him for not caring about a junior prom more than his dying mother from cancer. I'm pretty sure she was like 2 or 3 days away from dying.
Yes,
also.
It was very sick
it was
after.
very, very, and you could see that. Like, you could see her dark, sunken eyes. Like, I mean, she looked like she was about to die in a few days. So that's crazy that he just, like, let her spread that lie. That's crazy. And I kind of hate her for that. And I hate how she handled the funeral. I think that's, like, totally disgusting and immature, and I don't think she got enough hate for that.
Yeah, no, I think Belly as a character is one of those, and I guess it is true to life, that sometimes there are people who are just the main character in everyone's life, or at least certainly wants everyone to act like that.
Yep.
And unfortunately, that's Belly.
Yeah.
And I can't stand it when people let people act like the main character in everyone's lives.
Yeah. I know a lot of people like when Conrad, when they're finally talking about what happened at the funeral and he's explaining that, like, he was having a panic attack, and I think her name's Aubrey, just happened to, like, find him, and it wasn't like a weird thing. First of all, Belly does not have any right whatsoever to be mad about that in the first place, even if that was what was happening. Y'all are broken up and have been broken up for a while. It's not like you broke up yesterday. Let's remember that for the 3rd book. And yeah, it's like you broke up a while ago, and that's not even what was happening. You didn't let him explain. You told him to go to hell at his mom's funeral. And then you fell like you fell like, that's so embarrassing. That after all that you fall, that's crazy. I would, like, crawl in a hole and die, which I would never put myself in that scenario, but that's crazy. And then he tells her, she's like, well, I had no right to get mad. And he's like, you had every right. And I'm like, actually, I disagree with that.
She definitely did not.
You're being way too nice to her because she definitely had no right whatsoever to get mad at you. And even if y'all were dating and you did cheat on her, like, the funeral's not the time to bring that up and talk about it. Like, you can leave because you're upset about that. You don't get to confront him and be mad at him, even if that's what was happening and it wasn't. So, it's just wild. Wild, wild, wild. And, yeah, she's a very insufferable main character. I feel like the way people treat Elena Gilbert in Vampire Diaries is how they should be treating Belly. Because Elena Gilbert, people treat her like she's insufferable, and I don't think she ever is. So they're like, she's a crybaby. Well, I'm sorry, like, everyone in her life dies, so maybe you would cry too. Crazy. No, I really think the treatment for those characters should be swapped.
Huh?
So anyways, not Lola Tung though. I love her. She's
so great. I guess I'm a little torn between the two main ships. Because I know you are aggressively Team Conrad.
Honestly, I'm Team Belly doesn't deserve either one of them. But if we're gonna pick one,
yeah, I'm also in that camp.
Yeah.
And honestly, whenever they first met, I was so Team Cam Cameron and Belly.
Yeah.
But like,
I don't think she deserves any of them.
No.
No.
Like,
yeah.
she's just so...
If we're being real here.
She's just, like, incapable, like I said, of not being treated like the main character.
Yeah.
And that's not how a relationship works.
No.
So, but if I had to choose between the two, and I feel like you know stuff that I don't know about the next season.
Yeah. There's stuff that goes down next season.
Sure. Inherently in the first season, I was thinking that Jeremiah was not it, and I actually really liked her and Conrad in the first season.
Mm-hmm.
And then in second season, I think unfortunately I'm in the boat where I think Conrad and Belly don't deserve each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
not at that moment.
Like, definitely not then. So I fear Jeremiah just is kind of like, they are both so rough around the edges.
Yeah.
But I will say, at least Jeremiah is charming.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, he reminds me of one of the princes from Into the Woods, where it's like,
yeah,
hey, I was taught to be Prince Charming, not Prince Sincere. What do you want from me?
Yeah.
It's like, that's Jeremiah.
Yeah.
So
when they're not, when they're writing him like a normal person and not like a Wattpad character from 10 years ago.
Sure.
He can actually be charming when you don't give him like throw up lines. Like, you don't have to fall to get my attention or whatever. Oh my God, I hated that.
Lord.
What a horrible, horrible line. Whatever writer thought they ate that, you did not eat that. I literally threw that up. So that's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. What horrible writing. I mean, that's not even like, that's just horrible. I hated it.
I fear Jeremiah can do better. And I feel like Belly should not be in a relationship, but you know what? If they both are incapable of being single, then y'all have at it.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I also feel like Jeremiah should just be with someone else.
Oh, it doesn't feel remotely like a relationship that lasts, because I think both of them have some element of I'm the main character. I think that Jeremiah can hide that behind his charm, and the idea of, like, putting my partner first, and that reflects back on me. Mm-hmm. But I don't know.
I don't know, man. It's kind of crazy. I just think they go to lengths to show that Jeremiah, I really do think, likes Belly and respects Belly, but he just doesn't know her, and I don't think he cares to know her in a way that you would need to for a relationship. I just don't think they're right for each other. And I think she's insufferable and he's not most of the time, when they are not feeding him horrible lines. I actually don't think he's insufferable. I think he makes some bad choices, but everybody in that show makes bad choices. So, like, I don't hate him like some people hate him. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's right for Belly, and I don't think Belly is right for him. But it's more of like, I don't think Belly deserves anybody right now. I think she needs to grow up and realize she's not the main character. And then
Which is unfortunate because she is also the main character.
Yeah.
There's a fine line between being the main character and making everyone treat you like the main character. Like there's a fine line there that I feel like most people are able to find.
Well, even like Bella from Twilight, she definitely is treated like the main character, but she like herself, I feel like doesn't act like the main character. At least she's not insufferable in that way. No. At all. I actually really like Bella.
I love the way that like everyone's like, oh hey, you stopped acting like you were dead. Mm-hmm. Like I love the way that it's like all about the way that your other characters act about your character. Yeah. That really draw that line. Yeah. Which, to be fair, I'm guessing that do you think that's an intentional choice to have everyone act like she's the main character? Like, do you think that's something from the book?
Yeah, well, I feel like I have like a kernel of an idea here, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to flesh this out in like a way that makes sense.
Let's try it.
But I feel like Bella and her actions and her personality allow for people to respect her and love her enough to treat her like a main character. And I feel like Belly from Summer I Turned Pretty has not earned that. She just gripes and complains to everybody around her so that they feel bad and walk on eggshells around her to then treat her like the main character. And I think that's a big difference.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
I actually really like that point.
I feel like she kind of forces that main character treatment on herself versus Bella has earned that. So, if that
I concur with that.
Sense.
That's really well put.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think I'd like to move the conversation maybe to some of the things I like about this show.
Okay. Sure.
So within
Speaking of ships, Taylor and Steven?
Right.
How do we feel about that?
I love that.
Yeah.
I remember Taylor was in like 2 episodes in season 1, mm-hmm. and I wasn't blown away by her. Mm-hmm. And then you were like, you're gonna love her in season 2.
Yeah.
I did immediately love her in Steven, mm-hmm. and I always loved Steven.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Mm-hmm. He's the best.
They needed to make him the main character of the show.
Honestly, yeah.
He's so much more entertaining than almost anyone else on this show.
Yeah. Him and Cam Cameron are like holding the show on their backs.
Yes.
And then Taylor's there, like helping.
Oh, Taylor helps in season 2. She's like, oh, is that heavy? Let me help you.
Yeah.
But then, you know, they come back and they have this, oh, I'm in another relationship. And mm-hmm. and almost she does the whole, like, Belly and Conrad thing mm-hmm. way better. Mm-hmm. It's like, I always had a crush on you, but then you acted like I was this one-time thing and it was a horrible thing for us to be together. And now mm-hmm. here you are trying to say otherwise. And mm-hmm. I just have to, like, how does that make me look if I give in to that?
Yeah,
and I
that's
think
actually
that's
a really
very
good
real.
point. Mm-hmm.
And it works so much better in 1 season
mm-hmm.
than Belly does with that in 2.
Yeah.
So literally half the amount of time they're able to do it much more convincingly.
Yeah.
However, they do, and I'm gonna guess that's something not in the books.
No, it's not.
So.
Yeah, which is crazy. And also, I think it's also interesting how they're already planting the seeds to show that Conrad knows Belly as a person way more than Jeremiah. And I think they've already successfully, in a shorter amount of time, done that with Steven and Taylor.
Yeah.
With him, like, knowing her middle name. I feel like they wanted that to be more impactful than it was, I will say.
Sure.
I'm like, okay. How long have they been dating? Like, maybe they don't know her middle name. Or, like, it's not, like, you know, crazy thing to know her middle name. But neither is, like, Candy, her favorite candy. Like, okay. That doesn't mean, like, you know a person. But I feel like they wanted that to hit a little harder than it did. But the seeds were there, and I still think it was done better and faster than Conrad and Belly. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're really fun. I really like how they interact with, like, every character.
Mm-hmm.
Taylor has such a fun energy.
Yeah.
Where she's like a real one, but also, like, very honest and brutal,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
but not in a way where she comes off as an asshole.
No.
Which is also a very fine line.
Mm-hmm.
So that's so good. That's so great for her.
Props to that actress. For some reason, she reminds me a lot of like Abby from Ginny and Georgia.
That's exactly what I was thinking of. Yeah. I feel like those two go to a lot of the same auditions.
Yeah.
And in any case, I think that means that Taylor's actress needs to try and get into horror.
Yeah.
Because
I agree.
Abigail's actress was recently in Clown on a Cornfield, and she ate that.
Mm-hmm.
So. So, girl.
I would so be down for Taylor to be in, or that actress. I don't know her name. But I would love for her to be in horror or just something else.
Absolutely.
But, yeah. Very fun.
But I was literally thinking that exact same thing. Steven, I think he's so fun. I would love to see his actor in something else.
Yeah.
I think those two, and then the two moms, are like honestly the actor MVPs of this show.
Yeah.
And I want to see them do more.
Yeah.
I fear they're stuck in the TV space right now, especially at least just out of this.
Yeah.
I want them to find some other really good juicy roles because these four characters really roll with what they're given. And I think with Taylor, it's not a lot. With the other three, they're given a good amount, and they do a lot of great work with it.
I will say I'm not a big fan of Laurel's actress, whatever, in the first season, but I like her in the second season.
Sure.
I feel like there are moments in which, part of that I would probably chalk up to the writing because the writing in the show is not the best. So I feel like that's not all on her, but I do think part of it, I'm like, I didn't like that line delivery, but then the second season, I don't think I have that.
She also plays a very interesting and unique kind of character. Like when I think mom roles, I think she's a little outside the norm.
Yeah.
Which I really like because I think Susanna, even though she's this like wild and bigger personality, I think she does land directly in the middle of where you'd imagine a mom character being. I feel like it's really interesting.
Laurel, there's more to it, which is interesting. And she has a decent part in the third book, so I'd imagine in the show as well, because she really does not like the idea that Belly and Jeremiah are going to get married. She really doesn't like that, which I hate. I feel like people just like completely misunderstand the show and its characters, because people are trying to say, well, who is she to judge when she got a divorce? And I'm like, well, there's something to be said about knowing when something's not working and to walk away from that instead of sticking to that decision because you're afraid of embarrassment.
Yeah.
It's like, well, actually, I mean, her relationship didn't work, but also she had enough guts.
But also she's actually been in a marriage, so she inherently knows more about it than these two.
Than children.
Yeah.
So, which again, would have hit more like children if they were freshmen in college, but whatever. Anyways.
But, I don't know. I super love Steven. I've loved his little mini plots that he goes on. I thought it was interesting seeing him try and fit with the other girl in the season 1.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I'm glad she just kind of left.
Yeah, she was okay. I would not mind
but
seeing the actress again somewhere. I'm not like, craving for it, but I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, but I liked
my Shayla.
I really liked his side of that in his whole plotline he was doing season 1.
Yeah.
Loved everything he was doing in season 2.
Yeah.
Love that he's valedictorian. He's a smart cookie.
I hope they do something with him at Princeton, because I'm a little worried they're just going to have his storyline be all about Taylor in season 3. And I like that, but I also want something more. And I feel like I'm a little scared they're going to...
I don't know. They've been delivering on him for the other 2 seasons.
That's true. Yeah. I just have nothing to go off of with the book, so I have no idea. We shall see. Yeah.
I feel like I say that a lot.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's okay. It's the new
Going to Laurel and Susanna.
Yeah. First of all, they needed to get married.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like we've talked about this before. I don't know if we've done it on the show before.
Okay.
But I really love the idea of like meeting your soulmate.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that they're your soulmate, even if you never like get married, or if it's like platonic soulmate, or romantic but never quite worked out soulmate, or friend soulmate. I've always really loved that idea that like there's that really not abstract, but this like ancient idea that like people were put on this planet to find like the person who completes them, And I think it's a really interesting idea to, like, your other half, you know, isn't always going to be the person you marry. And I think this is an interesting element in that conversation. In the idea that, like, in both of their marriages, they're now ex-husbands, acknowledge, like, I knew when I gave you that ring that a part of that was also going to your basically
best
girlfriend.
Yeah. So.
But I don't know. But it's like they never showed them being romantic at all. But I don't think their relationship suffers from us not seeing that. I think it still feels super strong and so, like, reliable and dependable. And they were always going to be there for each other.
Yeah.
And it's, Susanna's death hit really hard.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if necessarily her death, but, like, when everyone was finding out about it.
Yeah, that was the big tearjerker scene. Yeah. And then later when they play Bigger Than the Whole Sky by Taylor Swift, I'm like, please stop. Because that's literally about her mom having cancer, so... Yeah, it's a very similar circumstance, actually.
I do really love how Susanna, I would say, Laurel definitely as well, but Susanna definitely more so, just, like, adores the other kids as her own as well. I think it's really...
I love all the nicknames she has for them. Like, Sunshine Boy, I think, is really fun and kind of perfect for Jeremiah, but I also like it with Conrad, too. I forgot what she calls him. Connie, yeah, because then that's when Belly calls him Connie is very, he mentions, like, only my mom calls me that.
But I super love the relationship. I really love how you have her lasting impression on the second season.
Yeah.
The flashbacks, I think they did some great makeup work on her to make her look really unwell, but it doesn't feel, like, disrespectful at all. It looks, you feel what they're feeling, and it's,
yeah, and it always comes at the right time. I don't think they overdo the flashbacks. It's not like one of those where they regret killing off the actor or actress and are just, like, putting a bunch of flashbacks in. It feels appropriate. It feels powerful within the writing. So props to them for that.
And then with Laurel, I really loved in season 2 the idea that, like,
she's trying to figure out. She wrote a book.
Yeah.
But she doesn't want to promote it because she doesn't want to talk about it. And then she finds out her children were lying to her this whole time. And it's like, where does she fit in? Does she deserve to take up space and talk about Susanna's life? Well, like, she does, but can she feel like she deserves that? So, I don't know. That's
I really like what they do with her in season 2. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
I thought her in the boat and the other writer in season 1 was cute.
Cleveland. Oh, what a fun addition. So, also having Conrad have panic attacks, what a wonderful addition as well. Very powerful.
Sure.
So, yeah. The book, he's just moody.
What else is there to talk about? Camp Cameron, Sky and her mom. I think that's
their
a
mom.
big note to hit. Their mom, right. Sorry. So, I think I want to start with Sky.
What did I do? Sorry. I messed up. I fixed it. It's fine.
All right.
It's fine.
Starting with Sky, I think they are a very odd character.
Yeah.
I feel like I wish they were more important to the season than they feel.
And I don't think they're going to play a role at all in the third season.
I would be surprised if they did.
But I don't know. I don't hate their character either. Like, I feel like people hate on Sky, and they're like,
okay,
they're so insufferable, and I'm like, no, that's Aunt Julia.
I'm in that camp.
Okay, yeah, at first.
Like,
but then
I don't know when the switch happens, but there definitely is a switch where Sky goes from unbearable, why are you on my screen?
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know. I like that they're there to really challenge Aunt Julia, or Sky's mom, I guess. I always just want to call her Aunt Julia, though.
Yeah.
Because I don't like Aunt Julia. She's fine towards the end when she, like, stops being insufferable and gives them the house. But for most of the season, I'm like, I feel like we should really be hating on the real enemy, Aunt Julia. And Adam, I think his name is.
Oh, Adam is absolutely
Fisher's
the worst of
dad. Yeah.
But, you know, he's the cheater who cheated on his wife with cancer. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. That is hard to beat.
And then marries Susanna knowing that Laurel's, like, also basically in the marriage, and then tries to say that she doesn't have a vote. That's a wild line. What wild audacity you have to have.
Craziness.
But also,
I don't know. I like
Susanna. You should have given the house to Laurel.
It's insane. I remember saying in the season, like, cool. So she prepared a whole, like, graduation gift for
Steven.
When he graduates, but didn't figure to give the house to the people she knew would keep it.
Yeah. Because they tried to, like, say, well, she didn't have time, and I'm like,
no, dude. If you're able to prep that,
yeah, you definitely did. You just, like, didn't want to.
It's very weird, and like if they land, like if her and Julia had landed on different terms than they did, I can understand her maybe thinking it would happen.
Yeah.
But she never responded to the letter. She never
had any reason to think Aunt Julia was gonna come around and fix anything. And it's also, like, odd. If you know something's wrong and you're giving her the house because you're trying to, like, fix that relationship in that way, just talk to her. Call her up.
Hey, girl.
I mean, she didn't respond to the letters, but, like, if you really want to talk to your sister, you can talk to your sister.
Yeah,
so
I think it's interesting looking at their relationship whenever we are only able to see one side of it.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting conversation that we see every now and then with, like, people having to reconcile that their parents were different from what they thought or were different to different people. I've always thought those conversations were interesting. And I think I was maybe a little more receptive to it than I can think some people would be. I think ultimately it doesn't excuse a lot of the stuff that she does because to hear your family's asking to buy their family house back from you, all you have to do is not sell until they get that money, which they're telling you how they can get that money. Yeah. And it's really weird to not... I don't know.
It feels like... I don't know. It makes her look really immature, and I will say it does... You know, you have to be careful to not cross the line of having your character who doesn't like the deceased character go as far as having the viewers actually feel less about the deceased character. I don't think they ever crossed that line.
No, and I think it's also very real. I think the idea that...
It's very clearly, like, her own experience, not, like, that Susanna wasn't a nice person, just maybe that she just wasn't capable at the time of seeing her parents' flaws.
Mm-hmm. And I think the idea that she wasn't super willing to hear it, I think there's also a conversation of how that's similar with her own kids.
Absolutely.
And not wanting to hear the other side to Aunt Julia's.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's all very interesting. And I will say, I think at the end of the day, I think it's well done.
Yeah, I think so. Anyways.
But we'll never see Aunt Julia again, so
probably not. So, anything else we haven't talked about? The soundtrack, I feel like overall is pretty fun.
I will say, in the first season, I was like, cool. They didn't want to pay more writers on this.
What?
Because I was like, oh, here's like another really popular song that's, you know, they're spending money on that instead of making a good show.
Right. Yeah. That's fair.
In season 1, especially the earlier half, I definitely did not get points for some of those episodes on my score. Okay. Like, there is that one episode that got 0 points.
Okay.
I can't tell you which one, but there is one.
That's crazy. Anyways. I was a little harsh with Laurel. Ignore my Laurel con, because Laurel, I don't know. I go back and forth with her. Sometimes I feel like she can be a bad mom, but also, like, I think that's too harsh because I think she just makes bad choices in the start of season 2.
Sure.
Because she just doesn't want to talk about her grief. And, you know, I don't think that makes her a bad mom. I think that makes her realistic. It's frustrating because it's like you're hurting your kids and not admitting that.
But also,
and you are the adult in the situation.
Also, I think Belly puts her in a horrible situation.
Absolutely.
Because then how can you talk about that without, like, and then you did that.
Yeah.
And what could be an unforgivable thing. For most of the people at that funeral, it should be an unforgivable thing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Laurel has every right to be mad at Belly for that. Honestly, she should have been more harsh about that. Anyways. Yeah, I think I wrote down at some point it becomes sloppy writing to have Belly literally break up with Conrad. Like, that's objectively what happened.
Yes.
You can't argue. There's not an argument.
And
you
Conrad
didn't watch
even
the
stand
show.
up for himself on that point. It's like, man.
At some point, you're a bad writer, and it's sloppy writing to write a person breaking up with another person, and then having every other character in that show saying, "Oh no, that's not what happened. This person actually broke up with this person." That's not what you wrote. That's not even what happened. To not have a single person even, like, argue that that's not what happened is crazy.
Yeah.
But anyways. And then... it's crazy.
Tis.
Belly is the one who should end up sad and alone. Can you tell that I wrote this, like, when I was emotional about the show?
Right.
Anyways. Losing... Oh... I hate that, like, the only thing they do to change her appearance from when she's, quote-unquote, I guess, not pretty, and then pretty, is that they just get rid of her glasses and braces. God, it's the big year 2025, and we're still doing that? That's not when it came out, but, like, still. Really? That's not how it works. And that's so lazy.
Yeah.
I hate that. You could have shown her, like... you know, not caring about her appearance and then finally caring about her appearance.
But she objectively is, like, the same.
She
until
looks
she
the
takes
same.
her braces and glasses off.
Yeah. I'm like, you could have, like, actually wrote something about her changing. But you didn't. So now you're feeding into bad stereotypes that people with braces and glasses are ugly. And that's not how it works.
Indeed.
That's crazy.
Any other last points to hit before we maybe move on?
Yeah. Also, for anyone who's like, Jeremiah's not written like a Wattpad guy, they actually call him that in the show. They say, I'm pretty sure it's Taylor that says he's basically like a Wattpad guy. I'm like, guys, that's not a good thing. Something should stay
in your smut fanfics.
Yeah, something should stay in the phone or the book, not in real life. So, sorry. Which I know it's a show, it's not real life. But anyways, nope. That's it. That's all my thoughts.
Right, good thoughts. So,
I'm done.
So we will be covering season 3 in some capacity. We will not be covering it by episode. You might hear me complain about it in our vibe checks, but
yeah.
Yeah. So we will.
Unless there's nothing else going on, but it's summer, so of course it will. So
yeah, we'll
probably.
We'll at least do a full season review of it.
Yeah.
We'll see if maybe a mid-season review or something is on the horizon. It depends on what's coming out, but
what time?
That is The Summer I Turned Pretty. If you've watched it, let us know what you think of it. What do you like about it? Do you agree with any of our criticisms, or do you have any of your own?
I feel like if you like love triangles, and you don't watch a ton of stuff, you might like this movie. But I feel like if you watch a lot of shows, I feel like if you watch a lot of shows, they're way better. Love triangles, and less insufferable characters. So go watch Vampire Diaries, and stop acting like Elena Gilbert doesn't deserve to cry. So y'all are crazy for that.
Sometimes bad bitches cry.
Y'all are crazy for that. I'm sorry. Literally everybody in her life dies, and all these horrible things are happening to her. She's a main character that does not want to be a main character, but is constantly treated like one, and she like hates it. So many bad things happen to her because she's so important in the lore. Like,
she became
girl is going through it.
Honestly,
anything she does in that show, she should have done worse. So there you go. Anyways, I actually think you would kind of like parts of that show. I don't think you would like it overall, but I don't know.
I like vampires.
Yeah.
I love me some vampires.
Yeah. Anyways.
Okay, we are now going to switch over to the Materialists. I'm very excited to talk about this one. So, I think
Where's my marker?
Oh.
It's gone.
I think it's under your blanket somewhere, but
okay.
I think it's very important to talk about what we thought this movie was going to be as compared to what this movie ended up being.
Yeah, so first of all, this is not a rom-com, and don't go into it expecting a rom-com.
Yeah, I think so many people, including the people we were in that movie theater with, are so convinced they're going to see a rom-com, love triangle thing.
Yep.
And as they should. That is absolutely, undeniably what it was being advertised as.
Yeah.
And so it's very interesting to see what we've gotten.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very interested to see how it performs.
Yeah.
I'm very fearful that because of the way it was advertised, it's going to have a huge drop next
off.
Weekend.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting because it's like, I think the advertising is going to cause it to suffer, but also were they doing false advertising on purpose to try to get a bunch of people up front thinking that it was a rom-com? Because that would pull more people than what if you advertised it like it was. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. There's definitely an argument for both. It's an interesting conversation. I don't think I have an answer to.
I mean, ultimately, we'll never be able to know the other side. How would it have performed if you advertised it for what it was? How would you have advertised it for what it was?
I don't know.
Like, because how would you have advertised Past Lives, which I think is pretty comparable.
Yeah.
And, you know, they didn't. They did an Oscar campaign instead.
No.
Which I will say, unfortunately, I fear this is not going to be heavy on the Oscar talk. Or the award circuit at all.
I don't think so.
I feel like people need to acknowledge the amazing camera work here. Mm-hmm. But I think that's it.
Yeah. I will say, the more we watch movies that I thought would be in the Oscar talk that I now don't think will be, the more I get excited for Sinners.
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what? If that's what has to happen to get Sinners to, like, sweep the Oscars, honestly, I'll take it. Because that movie's worth it. So
absolutely.
I'll take it.
I feel like Sinners is going to... I feel like it's going to either do really good here or do really good at, like, the outside of the U.S. awards. And I can't really put my finger on which one I think is more likely.
I'm, like, terrified that it's not going to do anything at the Oscars. Like, I fear that it's going to be a challenger situation, but I feel like it can't.
But it's so much bigger than challengers.
I know. I'm like, it's made too much noise to get that type of treatment, but are people in the Oscars going to have that be a situation where they're like, oh, well, everyone else is going to vote for this, so I'll just vote for something different?
But then I don't even know.
I'm scared.
We've yet to really see anything else I think is super front-running for a lot of these categories. So.
I agree with that. So, yeah.
But anyways, back to Materialists. Mm-hmm. So, and we are going to go into spoiler talk. We warned up front, but for those who might have forgotten, we are going to go into the spoilers of this movie, so you've been warned. So, we were just talking about love triangles. How do you feel about the love triangle here?
Oh my god, it's about to rain.
It is about to rain.
That's crazy. I was like, why is it getting darker? And then it's like dark outside. That's crazy. Sorry if you can't see us. It's about to thunderstorm. So that's really fun to know.
It's great.
Anyways, what was your question again?
How do you feel about the love triangle in this movie?
Oh, I actually really like it. I feel like it's one of the better or more well done ones. I will say, similar thing with enemies to lovers, where I feel like people overuse that term when it's just like one of them hates the other person doesn't hate the other person at all. That's not enemies to lovers. Enemies to lovers is like you both have mutual hate for each other and then you grow to love each other. Like, kind of like, I would say Max and Hall is like a show. I think that's the full name of the show. On Prime, I feel like they do that pretty well. They both hate each other at first, and then they like each other later. And I feel like it's a similar thing that happens with love triangles, where technically it should be where one person genuinely likes both of them. And I feel like that almost happens here, but she technically never loves Pedro Pascal's character.
Well, I think what I would add to this one is that the way they use this one, it's very, like, theme and concept heavy.
Yes.
And it really explores the idea of, like, it's not that she loves both of them. It's that she's attracted to both of them for different reasons.
Yes.
And the whole purpose of this movie is, you know, what makes a relationship worthwhile and valuable.
Yeah, I agree. Which I think is why I ultimately really like this love triangle. Because I do think they explore that well enough. I wish they explored more of her and Chris Evans' relationship.
Yes.
But, and we'll kind of get into the details of that. But, I don't know. They do explore it. So, there's that, you know.
Absolutely. So, if you had to pick someone to be a standout cast member?
Ooh, I would say Pedro Pascal, actually. Because it really was sold for me as the standout of the three when he had that conversation about the scar in his leg and having that surgery and what that did to his confidence and his life. And I also like his conversation when she's like, why are you attracted to me? Like, why are you dating me? You could do so much better. And he's saying, well, I want someone who sees the world the way I do and is real about that. And I want a partner I respect. Like, it doesn't matter if we're, like, number-wise the same level of value or whatever. I really liked the way he did that scene, and I really liked the height scene.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really liked the height scene. I thought that was great. But I thought, you know, in comparison to what I've seen from Dakota Johnson and Chris Evans, especially Chris Evans post-MCU, I think this is definitely one of his better ones. Not that that's a high bar. Not as good as Knives Out. I don't know if anything will be as good as Knives Out. But
is probably the peak of his acting career.
Yeah. I also really like him in Gifted, but that was not post-MCU. That was 2017. So, close, but not quite. Anyways, you seriously should watch that movie. It's really good. Right. It also has Jenny Slate in it.
I do love me some Jenny Slate.
Yeah. So
I adore that girl.
And I think it has Octavia Spencer, if I'm not crazy.
Okay.
Anyways. And Dakota Johnson, I have not seen some of, like, her more acclaimed movies of what I hear people saying. Like, Cha-Cha Real Smooth, I hear, which that's such a funny name. I'm so sorry if that's, like, a serious thing in the movie. I have no idea what that movie's about. I'm so sorry. Mm-hmm. But, like, the Cha-Cha slide, that's exactly where my mind goes. Anyways, it's probably, like, not related at all. But I hear she's really good in that movie, and there's, like, a few other movies I have not seen that people say she's really good in, so can't really judge all that much. I've never hated her as much as some other people hate her acting.
Do you think this is better or worse than Madam Web?
Oh. Oh my god. What are you talking about? She did so good in Madam Web. That's such a good movie. That's my favorite movie.
That's not what happened, Ellen.
Actually, Ellen, that's not true. That's her best performance to date. Like, come on. So, gagged her with that one. Anyways, I don't know. I like her in this overall. I feel like there's one scene, I think she's talking to a client, and I don't like the way she delivers some of those lines. But everything else, I'm satisfied with.
She talks in a very...
She's an interesting choice.
She talks in a very detached way, which is very in character.
Yeah.
I really like the way she, like embodies the character. Like, I think her physical performance and the way she talks really matches. I almost wish, like, if I had to give a note, I would say, like, maybe I wish she, like, broke out of that a little more towards the end as she started leaning into, like, maybe love is what's needed in a relationship.
Yeah.
Mind-blowing, I know.
What?
But like, as she's, like, coming to terms with that, it feels like maybe if she was able to, like, get out of that colder tone that she speaks in.
Show that growth through her acting.
Yeah.
That would be interesting. I agree with that.
But overall, I think she does really well in this role.
Yeah. I'm satisfied with it.
With Luke Evans, I think...
Chris Evans!
Oh my god, that's like the third time I've done that. Chris Evans, not Gaston. Captain America.
Or that Hobbs guy, the brother. The bad Hobbs brother. Anyways.
But... Chris Evans.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's good here. I think I think it really works here because I think something about Chris Evans playing, like, annoyed is really entertaining.
Yeah.
And he's annoyed a lot in this movie.
Yeah.
Which really works for me.
It's giving, like, the Free Guy, what the shit?
Yes,
That's what it's giving.
Really is.
Oh, I love that line delivery. He ate that up. Oh, my God. Honestly, probably one of my favorite cameos in, like, a movie ever. He like ate that up. Oh my God, that was just perfect timing. Anyways, I actually really like that movie. But anyways,
I love that movie. I think
people hate on that movie, but it's fun. Just don't be serious all
Free
the
Guy,
time.
hide behind me.
Yeah, get behind me. I'll defend you. Anyways.
Yeah, and you know what? What if I said Free Guy is better than at least one of the Deadpool movies? What then? What then?
Oh. Anyways. That's a hot take today.
Yep, that is my hot take. I will refrain from any more hot takes for the rest of the day.
We'll see.
And yeah, I think Pedro Pascal really shined here.
Oh, I loved him in this movie.
And we talked about it in the theater. It feels like this is almost a glimpse of what he will look like when he is Mr. Fantastic. A little bit of Reed.
A little bit.
I'm very excited to see some comparisons here because we've talked a lot about what that Fantastic Four cast looks like. And I know personally, and I love Pedro Pascal. I don't think I've seen him in something where I'm like, he's not doing great. Reed is the only one on the cast where I'm like, I can't connect what this performance would be like to anything he's already done before. So I don't inherently know he's going to kill this the way I know everyone else will.
And I still think it's going to be a very different Reed than the Reeds we've gone before. Yeah. Not that, one of them's... Anyways, we don't even talk about one of those movies. No. I love you, Miles Teller. You deserved better. Anyways. But to compare it to the early 2000s Fantastic Four, I think it's going to be wildly different from that. But I think in the context of what seems to be happening in the movie, I think that makes sense. I feel like we're going to get a lot more of a serious Reed, but considering the circumstances that seem to be occurring, I think that will work really well. Yeah. And maybe that's why they went with someone like Pedro Pascal, because they knew he could play that really well. But it does raise the question if he ever acts like the more like fun and flirty Reed.
Well, we know he can do that.
Yeah. I would just be excited to see when that might happen. It might happen in this movie. I don't know. And then things get serious.
I don't know. I'm very interested to see what happens to like just this team in general going into Fantastic Four, because we know, at some point they go to the main MCU, and then do they stay there? Do they go back? Yeah. Regardless, what does that mean for these characters?
I don't know. Because I think it could end up where like they lose and their planet is about to get eaten and they flee, or it could be that they win but just barely and they go to warn the next universe or whatever. I have no idea. Or maybe they're like, a bigger threat's coming and they find out about Doctor Doom, and maybe that's why they go to... I don't know. There's a lot of things that could happen.
I remember someone was saying to me recently that they thought that the post-credit scene of the Thunderbolts gave away too much of the Fantastic Four. But there's no telling why they're there, how they got there. Because Galactus isn't a...
Quite frankly, we don't even know it's them.
Because also...
I don't know.
Galactus... as of so far, is not a multiverse threat. Yeah. He's always a devourer of the worlds in his own universe. So, there have to be something else completely different for them to even need to jump universes. Like, there's... Like, and the Fantastic Four are cosmic, like, searchers. Like, they know other planets that they can live on. So, why do they need to jump universes, I think, is an interesting...
Yeah, I agree.
Really interesting.
Do they even mean to jump universes?
Another great point.
So, I don't know. I mean, technically, I'm pretty sure it's going to be their version that's in the ship. But I guess we don't really know that. I hope it is.
I think it's presumable.
I don't, because I guess Secret Wars just opens a lot of doors, but it's not Secret Wars yet. So I think in Doomsday, in that conversation, it's presumably them. Mm-hmm. Secret Wars... Anything can happen in that movie. Anybody could be in that movie.
I'll just send us back to Materialists. I feel we're
sorry, Pedro Pascal.
But overall, he does really great here. I think it's interesting that this is going to be one of 2 roles this year where he plays a charming character who can stretch his legs.
That's funny. Oh my god. I need
to put that on my Letterboxd review.
Actually, yes. Yes, you should.
Oh my gosh.
The one-liners people hate on the one-liners on Letterboxd. That's
them.
like iconic. That's about that. Who cares? Why do you care what a random Jason on his couch on a Friday night writes in his review about a movie? Why do you care? It's funny if it's a one-liner. If you want a review, read an article or something. I don't know.
Fascinating. So, I also want to shout out the actress who plays Sophia. I actually really like her performance.
Me too.
It's a smaller role. Like, I wouldn't say she's even in, like, a main role, but she does a lot with her performance.
You know, I feel like if I had to pick someone to nominate acting-wise, I would pick her as supporting actress.
I would agree. I fear
I don't think she's going to get in there,
nowhere in
but...
the sphere of possibility. But she, I think, because I would say I think she gives my favorite performance.
I agree.
Of the main cast, it's Pedro, but...
Yeah.
But
out
gosh,
of everyone.
She has just an amazing role.
Yeah. Very, very powerful, and I think she does it well. So, she also really shows the complexity, because, like, pretty early on in the movie, almost immediately, you're like, wow, these people are really shallow. But then they explore more to that, which I really appreciate and like. So, I don't know. Especially with her. They do.
And that was another thing. Whenever we went to see this movie, and like we said, we knew like hours before we saw it that we weren't going to be watching a rom-com.
Yeah.
I didn't know what was going to be replacing that.
Mm-hmm.
You had some idea with the serious tones of some of the big event
with
that
her.
Happens with Sophia.
Yeah.
But it was so clear when we were watching the movie that no one told everyone else in the theater that they weren't watching a rom-com.
No, people kept laughing. And
they kept laughing at things that, sure, if this was a rom-com, this would be like the place to laugh. However, they're not shooting it for you to laugh, and it's definitely not being performed for you to laugh at it.
No.
And so it just felt really weird being like, this is actually a pretty serious movie, and you're laughing at kind of inappropriate times.
Yeah. I felt like the only appropriate times were when people were laughing at just the sheer audacity of some of these clients. Because I even laughed at some. I was like, that's crazy. That one lady was like, I don't want, or she's like, what about, or I want, I don't want to date a Democrat. And
I don't want to date a
something.
Liberal. I need someone who identifies as a Republican.
Conservative, goes to church, like.
It's like, sorry, I don't think we're gonna find a lesbian in New York.
that one got me. I laughed, and then there was another one where the guy was like, I just need someone who's more mature. Woman.
It's like, I need someone like late 20s.
Yeah, like, you're like, yeah. I mean, the people I usually date are 20, 21. Just the sheer like perfect representation of what men are like nowadays. Just got a laugh out of me. Like, it's not funny, but it's like...
It's nice to see them...
It's nice to see that they understand that men are like that nowadays. So. No. Unfortunately,
enough.
more. Yeah, enough. So. Anyways. Yeah.
Craziness. But, no. You know the line that got the most out of me? Mm-hmm. Is whenever... Oh my god, what even is the main character's name? Lucy is kind of losing it, and she's telling the woman... You will not find someone with all of these people because I'm not building a man. And you need to lower your expectations. You keep growing them exponentially, and you're never going to find that. And the more you try to look for that, the more unattainable you become.
Yeah.
And lastly, you are not a catch. Because you are not a fish.
She ate that up.
I love that line.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I will be stealing that.
Yeah.
I cannot wait to gag the people at my office with that line.
Yeah. Oh my god. That's really funny.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah.
That is so good. That alone should keep this in the Oscars conversation.
Yeah.
But, so good, so good, so good. I also really liked the opening scene. Mm-hmm. I really like that idea of, like, watching the first marriage, and then they constantly talk about, like, why did the first people decide to get married?
Yeah.
what was that? And then I really like the idea that it circles back and she gets another flower ring whenever she gets engaged.
Yeah.
Too, because she's less materialist now.
Yeah.
I really like, in the end credits, I really like the idea of that scene going over the credits. I thought that was a really nice choice. And then I thought it was really sweet, but surprisingly, like, not super highlighted that that first couple, like the caveman couple, get married in the thing.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really nice touch.
Yeah, I agree. That was fun.
Yeah.
I also really like earlier on when they show the first couple she has, I guess, drawn to each other to get married or whatever, like curated to get together. The first wedding, and the bride is struggling, and that conversation, obviously, it's very shallow. Like, you learn, like, they don't actually, like, love each other, but I do think for where everyone was earlier on in the movie, that was a very interesting conversation.
Yeah.
So I think it really set the tone for what ideas they were gonna explore this movie. So that was
Absolutely.
interesting.
I think that whole first scene was really great, and then I liked how she was selling her business to people, and I liked Pedro Pascal's being like you are a luxury good. You're telling people that they don't need you, but you'll just speed up the process for them.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Yeah. So true. The understanding they had for each other was very interesting.
And I also loved how his apartment looked.
Yeah. His apartment was awesome. She's better than me. I would have been like, nah, I want to live in this apartment forever. Sorry. Sorry, guys.
I want to live in the Baxter building.
Yeah.
No, I'm going to talk about the camera work a little bit. Because, oh my gosh, the camera work is like almost its own like actor in regards to how much it adds to this movie. Some shots.
The visuals are also wonderful, like
I
cinematography.
Really liked the way the camera was filtered between, like, whenever she's doing her job.
Yeah.
And it's like super like clear and clean, and it's very cold. Whenever she's with Pedro, it's also very clear, but it's a lot like darker and it feels a lot warmer. But I think they still make her feel really cold.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. In the office space, there's a scene where she's running to the bathroom and she like closes the door behind her, but the camera goes like over her. I love that shot. The shot when the party's celebrating the 9th marriage that she set up, and the camera like goes around her.
Yeah.
And this large group of women. I love that shot so much.
Yeah.
Whenever you're with.
When stuff was going on in the background too was really fun. Like when she was having that conversation with her boss about what happened to her client, and there were just a bunch of women just like celebrating in the back. Obviously not about the conversation, but just having that visual difference there of like just a completely shattered person and then people celebrating in the back. That was very powerful to me. I thought that was really great.
I also really liked whenever she was with Chris Evans' character, John. They a lot of the times, like, the backgrounds were super blurred out, but like she was really like the actors were really highlighted in frame. I super loved that.
Yeah.
There's a shot that I'm trying to think at the wedding, whenever they're like looking back and forth at each other. Yeah. Like it's like a fish lens behind them.
Oh,
and
okay.
It's like, and it's like almost like circular, and like they're looking at like the center of like a gravitational force going into like a high focus look at each other. Yeah. I really like the way that was shot. It's so great, and the design of all of the places feels really cool. Like for some reason the office gives me like some like Substance vibes, with just how like kind of like clean and like almost like stylistic choices similar there. And then also the way they were talking about their clients feels very Severance. Yeah. Which also feels pretty adjacent to this. They just treat them like numbers. It feels pretty adjacent to this as well. I like that.
I agree.
So very, so cool. So cool.
Lots of fun ideas.
So I think we've talked a lot about stuff we liked. Is there anything you didn't like about this movie?
I will say, I wrote down false advertising just because it didn't ruin my movie experience because I had like been warned about it beforehand, but I will say I would not be surprised if audiences were shocked by it and disliked the movie because of that, just because they weren't prepared for a movie like this.
Yeah.
I think that's a shame. And I think you're totally in the right if you expect a rom-com and then get this to be disappointed.
It's so much of a heavier movie than what a rom-com is.
And that sucks because this is, I think is a really solid movie, but if you're expecting comedy, like that's not what you're getting here. So I don't know. I wanted to write that down just because I do think ultimately it was a bad choice.
Like, I can't imagine what my experience would be if I didn't know that.
Right? So, I don't know. And then I wrote down, I wish all of the ideas had been fleshed out a little bit more. I really just mean more because she has this journey, Lucy, the main character. Mm-hmm. She has this journey where you know that her and John had a relationship and they really loved each other, but he was broke, she was broke. It just never really worked out because they just fought about finances and the love was not enough at that point. And then she goes on, she does this, what she thinks is helping her clients. And, you know, since love wasn't enough, she thinks it's not as important as these other, like, compatibility factors, like looks or finances and, education and whatever. So it's basically like what checks people's boxes and do the numbers add up to where these people are, like, equal in value in her mind. And then she meets Pedro Pascal, and she's baffled that he would like her because she doesn't think the numbers add up. She thinks she calls him a unicorn because he's just so, like, every girl wants a unicorn, but they're not unicorns, so they don't get a unicorn. And she's like, I know I'm not a unicorn, so why are you interested in me? And it's more just like, you realize he probably doesn't love her either, but it's more just he wants a partner that he understands and that understands him and respects him mutually. And he also says where she knows more than he does. It's like, I want a partner who knows more than me. I thought that was funny. And so they explore these ideas, and then she's slowly realizing, especially once something happens to her client, she's realizing that the numbers don't automatically mean that it's going to work out. People are human and there are outside factors and a lack of understanding. Like, you can't ever fully understand a human being just because you know facts about them. You know where they work, you know, like, what school they went to. That doesn't mean you know them as a person, and that doesn't mean that the personalities are going to mesh together well. So I thought that was interesting and explored really well, but then they have her and Pedro have that conversation when they break up because they're like, I don't love you, you don't love me, like, I want love. And I think that's important. I think numbers are important, but I think love is also important. So then she kind of goes with John, but then they're having that conversation again of like, well, it didn't work out the first time and I'm still broke, so what's going to be different about this time? And that's kind of what the audience is asking, and I feel like they don't answer that well.
I agree.
I don't think, because I don't see the growth in Lucy's character. I see her realizing that both things matter, but I just don't see it in a way where I believe that, because nothing has changed with their relationship. And they even have her say, like, you haven't changed to John. You're exactly the same as you always were. And so it's like, if anything, you're trying to say that they're the same. I don't know.
No, I agree. It raises a really interesting discussion. Mm-hmm. I've seen, I watch this YouTube channel called Smosh, and they have a series where they react to Reddit stories, and mm-hmm. A lot of the time, there's a good portion of that's relationship based.
Yeah.
And they talk a lot about the idea of, like, you know, a relationship cannot just be based off of love. Mm-hmm. Like, a relationship needs to have basically respect. It needs to be, like, basically the biggest thing. Mm-hmm. And, you know, trust, honesty, mm-hmm. Vulnerability, and there's all kinds of stuff that go into a relationship.
Yeah.
I like the idea, especially with Pedro Pascal's character is that, yes, he respects her so much.
Yeah.
He trusts her, and he's able or willing to open up to her. But you're able to have that and there not be love there.
Yeah.
And, love, like, you can have a relationship whatever which way, but you're not going to have the relationship you want if you don't have love there. And I think it's a very interesting kind of turn on its head to look at it that way.
Well, and I mentioned when we were talking about it a little bit after the movie how I feel like they're exploring two sides of a coin with Pedro, or Harry, I guess is his character's name, and John. But then I feel like they didn't explore a middle option, or if they wanted John and they wanted some progression there to turn into a middle option, I don't think they did that well.
I am tempted to agree. I also don't think they necessarily get to a point where, like, the numbers are agreed to be super important, because in the end she wants to quit her job.
Yeah.
And, she's being offered a lot of money to get a promotion.
Yeah.
And we don't have a solid answer on that.
Nope.
I think I really liked your idea, because I remember we talked and I was like, it feels crazy that your whole job is to, like, connect people based on their numbers. And you're not checking the numbers.
Yeah.
It feels like if that's your whole thing, your company is, like, looking at their employment paperwork and proving the things that, Sophia's horrible essay date is lying about.
Yeah.
That feels like stuff you, as a company, should
know.
know.
It's like, it's hard to know, because men are very good. Some men are very good at masking their true personality. So I'm not saying, like, you needed to know that he was capable of that, but you needed to double check that he was lying about some of his quote-unquote facts, because then that would have raised red flags.
Yes.
Maybe not necessarily that he would have then sexually assaulted someone, but you would have known there were red flags there and maybe not worked with him. So, or at least kind of dug into his personality a little bit more.
Yeah, because like, say the company did just do that and was able, like, say he had that job.
Yeah.
What does that change from the fact that happened?
Yeah.
Like, the idea that he lied about his height, the fact that he lied about what job he had. Like, he still did a horrible thing that the company had no interest in proving he couldn't do.
Yeah.
So
I think it's just a lack of, and because especially when she realizes, when it, like, crushes her and she talks to her boss and she's like, yeah, it happens. Just the total, like, lack of empathy there. Crazy. And it would have been nice if in her promotion she could have used that opportunity to not only get a lot more money so you didn't have to fight with the person you love, but also then you're in a more powerful position to maybe change the system a little bit instead of just leaving because you don't like it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm like, getting promoted, then you can, like, change the system to where, like, maybe that doesn't happen near as often.
Absolutely.
So, anyways, it's just, I thought that was a shame.
I completely agree on that point, and then it's left in a, like, oh, does she keep the job or not? It's on the table, and we never know. We'll never know now.
Nope.
I don't know. Do you think it's? I feel like that part could have been left vague if we had more of an understanding on where she stands on all of that, like on, like, numbers versus love, and you admitted to being materialistic.
Yeah.
Not 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Are you saying you're completely over that and you're not going to be having a job?
Yeah.
Like, that's a huge jump.
Big jump that because I like that you brought up that maybe she should have acted that change a little bit better and maybe it would have been more believable, but I do think it's also partially the writing.
Sure.
So it's not all on the acting, but I like that point. I do think that is a factor. I don't think it's just the writing. I think you also could have had the acting change as well. So yeah, that's very important. But anyways, overall, we still really liked it.
Yeah,
so.
This makes my top 10. I think the performances range from solid to great. And the ideas, I think, are phenomenal. And the conversations that we're able to spin out of it, especially as someone who's engaged myself, I find this all a very interesting and relevant conversation.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to remember why you're with someone and, that it's more than numbers that you should be able to pull from why you're with a person.
Yeah.
So, love that.
Yeah.
But also the camera work is so great. The cinematography, I think
I also like the score.
Ooh, yeah. The score was
really
really
liked
fun.
It, yeah.
I think the sets are all really well realized. It's a really well made movie.
Costumes and hair and makeup choices. I think it's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You want to talk about reception?
I would love to talk about reception. So we are looking at, where am I? There I am. So the critic score was an 87, which I think that is about exactly where I have my score at.
Probably me too.
And then the audience score drops down to a 69. I think...
I'm not super surprised.
I'm not either. I think a lot of it comes from people not knowing what they were getting into.
The false advertising.
Which, furthermore, comes into the score of the B-.
Yeah, cinema score. That's kind of crazy. I think that's kind of harsh.
I feel like if... Because it's spot pulling, so it's people right out of the theater.
Yeah.
I really think if they'd been more honest about what this movie is, it would have had a higher score. It probably wouldn't have made as much.
Yeah.
But I think the audience reception would be a lot higher.
I agree.
Or at least reasonably higher. IMDb is a 7, which I think is also pretty solid for IMDb.
Yeah.
So the budget was $20 million. It looks like it has made $12 million, I want to say, domestic so far.
Yes. I don't know if it's getting an international release. It doesn't have
I would
anything
imagine
on
it
that.
would because it's Celine Song who did Past Lives.
Yeah.
Who directed it, and I love Past Lives.
I bet it will eventually. It's not, none of that information's on here, so maybe it has a, I actually did think somebody said something about, like, seeing it in 2 months. I actually really feel like I saw somebody say that, which that's...
It is A24, so they wouldn't inherently have as great of a distribution schedule as some of these other companies. So I guess that does stand to reason.
We might have to wait on that one a little bit.
But so far, even opening with 12,000 domestically, I think that puts
12 million.
Really 12 million. Right.
Right.
12 million domestically, I think that puts it at a pretty decent spot. It'll at least match that budget. We'll see how close it gets to that break-even point.
Yeah, well, I definitely think, especially when international rolls in, I'm hoping it gets close to the century mark. I definitely don't think domestically, but I think domestically, it might hit around a 50 or 60 range. But I'm hoping international kind of bumps that up a little bit. I hope international likes it, especially since word is going to spread that it's not a rom-com. Hoping more people go into it with the right expectations.
Sure.
But I don't know. But then it also won't have the pull of people expecting a rom-com, wanting to go see it. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm very, very interested to see how it performs. If I had to ballpark, because I do have our estimate pulled up for it, where would the break-even point be? If it's 20, so that would be 45 million break-even point.
Oh, that was 50. 2.5?
Right, 50. You're right. You're so right. You're so right.
That's why I think that's what it's gonna make domestically, 50 or 60 million.
Okay, I think
I'll say with international, I'll say a total of like 80 million.
Okay.
That might be a little too low, but it'd be nice if it crossed the century mark.
I honestly think its biggest audience is going to be America. So I think
the cast certainly pulls from America for sure, but Celine Song,
I think I'm going to guess 70,000.
Okay.
That'll cross its budget, its break-even point.
Yeah.
So
surpass it.
I think that's going to be on. I even think 70 is going to be a little bit on the higher end.
Okay.
But I think that's what I'd put my money closer to.
It's okay.
So, that being said, I also did want to update everyone on our first kind of points of our draft picks for the Summer 25 season.
Yeah.
So, I have had 2 movies make the chart as of last weekend.
Yeah.
You have had 1 movie make the chart.
Yeah.
So.
Although I also have Materialists.
You do. And I have How to Train Your Dragon to add to my list. So,
okay.
But we don't have the numbers solid yet. We'll give you guys an update on this weekend's movies added next weekend.
Yeah.
We'll just kind of keep you updated as we go. So right now, you had Ballerina as of last weekend.
Yeah.
And that one gave you 64 points.
Higher than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I'm pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
That's what I'm.
That one definitely performed better than both of us thought it would.
Yeah. So.
And then I had 2. I had Dangerous Animals, which gave me 55 points. That opened quite a bit smaller than I thought it was going to.
Yeah.
And then I had Life of Chuck, which gave me 31 points. So total, I have 86 points, which does put me in the lead. But it took me 2 movies.
Yeah.
So we'll certainly see. I do have the big hitter of How to Train Your
Dragon.
And I will say, I think Materialists does put you down a little bit more than we expected.
I mean, the ratings are higher, but the box office is just not high. But, well, not the rating. Like, the critic score is good for Materialists. But audience, not so much.
We'll have to calculate. I'll calculate this week where those new editions put us at. So
yeah.
I feel like... I think I'll still have the lead once I add them all up.
I think so. Yeah, because the box office.
And then next weekend we have Elio and 28 Days Later, which are both on your side. So I don't get any more additions, and you get 2. So very interested to see how this keeps going.
Yeah.
I'm very interested to see what our numbers look like right now after this weekend. So y'all keep track and let us know who you think is going to be taking this home. I'm very excited to see. But
I think our big, we'll have to see how it goes, is Superman and Fantastic Four, I think, are going to be the big,
I don't know. I don't want to discount F1 and the bad guys. I think those... Oh, and there's also Jurassic... There's some good swings out here, I think.
Yeah.
On both of our sides. So
yeah.
I really don't think there's any one that's going to particularly inherently outperform. I think I had How to Train Your Dragon, which is going to be really strong, and you have Jurassic World, which I think is going to be really strong.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I think we have some really well-balanced lists.
And that's what's fun. It's like, that's great for movies, you know?
Yeah.
So, we love to see it. We don't love to see, a clear winner, because then that's, that means there's not that great of movies. So, it's great that we both picked 8 movies each, and overall feel pretty good about it. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, alrighty.
Anyways.
I think we'll go ahead and call that there. Thank you guys so much for joining our conversation. Let us know what you thought about Materialists if you saw it.
Yeah.
How do you feel about its marketing campaign? And does maybe hearing about what it is make you feel more likely or less likely to see it?
Yeah. How do you feel about The Summer I Turned Pretty? And what's season 3? What you're feeling going into season 3? That's what I'll say about that.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Great question. Well, thank you guys so much. I am your host, Luke.
And I'm your other host, Alicia.
And thank you guys so much for tuning in to Not So Straight Nerds.
Bye.
Bye, guys.